friends, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Allison Clarke and I'm a senior portrait and wedding photographer based out of Southern New Hampshire, and I'm also an educator for other photographers who are looking to boost their businesses and serve their clients a little bit better. First off, I wanted to apologize because last week I did not come out with a new video. 2022 kind of gave me a big old kick in the butt in the first week and I just didn't come out with any new content, so apologies for that. But I hope you all had a fabulous holiday and a happy new year, and welcome to 2022. I wanted to chat with you guys today about the wedding photography realm, more specifically second shooting. If you are a wedding photographer or someone looking to get into wedding photography, you probably know the term second shooting. Second shooter is somebody that tags along with the main photographer on a wedding day to help capture second angles of things, or act as a secondary helper to make sure that the wedding day goes smoothly. And after 7 years of being in the industry and second shooting a lot of weddings, as well as being a primary or lead shooter on a lot of weddings, I have learned, the ins and outs of second shooting and what main photographers like in a second shooter, but more importantly also what they don't like. So I wanted to chat with you guys a little bit today. If you are somebody looking to get into wedding photography and you're not quite sure where to start, second shooting is definitely your go-to first move. You definitely should be second shooting before you shoot any weddings of your own. And if you are looking to, break into the wedding photography industry, then being a good second shooter is the way to go, so that the lead photographer you work with will hire you again, or you'll be able to be more successful so that other lead photographers will hire you to second shoot and you'll be able to get more experience. But before we dive in, I wanted to mention the free download that's linked in my description. It is 6 tips to help you gain more confident and natural posing. If you're a portrait photographer, we all kind of strive for that confidence and that natural vibe with posing. Of course, you don't want your clients to feel stiff or awkward. So I have 6 tips to help you achieve that kind of posing. If you haven't snagged this download yet, like I said, it's completely free. So all you have to do is click that link, and it's definitely something that you don't want to miss. But without further ado, let's chat about my 6 tips on how to be the best second shooter. Tip number 1 is to be super aware of the lead photographer and where they are in the shots that they're getting. This is for a couple of reasons. First of all, you want to be aware of where your lead photographer is, because you don't want to obviously be in their shots or in the way. So if they have a wide angle lens on, you really want to make sure that you're kind of behind them so that there's no possibility of you being in the shot. If they're moving around a lot, you want to make sure to step back so that they're not going to step on you, bump into you. Just be super aware of where they are and where they're going so that you're not possibly in their way and they'd have to ask you to move, because that's just another little interruption on a wedding day, and your goal is to be there to help everything go smoothly. Another reason you want to keep track of where the lead photographer is and make sure that you're aware of the kind of shots that they're getting is because as a second shooter, you are in charge of getting different angles or different perspectives. So if you are just kind of standing next to your lead photographer or just a few feet away from them, you're likely going to be getting the same shot that they are. And what you want to be doing is getting something completely different. So whether it's during the ceremony and you guys are just on opposite ends of the room, and maybe one of you is getting, it's during the vows and one of you is getting one partner's reaction and the other shooter, the main photographer, is getting this partner's reaction, just making sure that you are getting a completely different viewpoint that they are. And even too, during bride and groom portraits or couples portraits, you want to make sure that you're not just, like I said, kind of hovering over their shoulder. You want to be trying to get different creative angles. I always say, as the lead photographer, I'm in charge of getting the must-have shots, and as a second shooter, it's kind of fun because you can be in charge of getting the really creative or different shots and trying things out. So just keep that in mind, always trying to get a different perspective on things. Again, if I'm shooting with a 35mm and I'm getting more wide angle shots, maybe put on your 70 to 200 and zoom way in to get close-ups. Again, just switching up the perspective, switching up the angle, making sure that you're getting something completely different than the main shooter and you're not in their way. My second tip for being a good second shooter is to not promote yourself. So it is a big no-no in the wedding industry for second shooters to promote their own businesses at weddings. If you're contracted under a lead photographer to be their second shooter, you are an extension of their business for the day. So let's say you were second shooting for me for the day and a guest was to come up to you and ask what your company was, then you would tell them Allison Clarke Photography and make sure that they know that I am the lead photographer. And if they were to ask for a business card and you didn't have one of my business cards on you, which I wouldn't expect you to, unless you know, ask for a handful at the beginning of the day or something, you can always direct them over to me to get a business card. But if you were to be asked that question and hand out your own business card or give them your own company name, that would be deemed inappropriate. And if the lead photographer were to find out about this, you likely would not be hired again. So keep that in mind. You are an extension of that photographer's business. So it is not your job on that wedding day to promote yourself, promote your business, or even really, you know, taking it a step further, getting the shots that your business needs. Like if you are an up and coming wedding photographer and you want more bride and groom pictures in your portfolio, but the lead photographer has sent you off to shoot cocktail hour, you shouldn't be, you know, getting through cocktail hour as fast as you can just to hop back outside and get bride and groom portraits with them because that's what you feel you need for your business. You are an extension of the lead photographer and you should be focused on serving the lead photographer and serving the couple to the best of your ability and not yourself. My third tip for being a good second shooter is to focus on the details. So let's say, for example, it is during family formals and the lead photographer is in charge of, you know, organizing the shot, and, you know, all the family members are standing around and they're talking really loudly, and I have to pay attention to the list and the timeline and make sure that everything's running smoothly. There's so many things going on in my brain that sometimes I might not see the stray hair on the bride's shoulder, or maybe her train isn't quite fluffed right. So you as a second shooter can serve, you know, both myself and the couple well by paying attention to those little details and just running in and fixing them on your own without having to be asked. It's much easier for you to run in and fix that detail and run back out than for me to take off my camera, go over, fix the detail, come back, and then get back to shooting. So that is something that I have found is super duper helpful in a second shooter, is somebody who pays attention to those little details. If a bridesmaid has a hair elastic on her wrist or something, you're saving me time later when I would have to edit that out if that wasn't something that I saw right away. So pay attention to those little details, make sure that you are focused on, you know, efficiency and, you know, fixing those little things as quickly as possible so that we can get back to shooting, and keeping me from having to fix them myself when I already have a lot of things going on in my brain and I'm already trying to shoot all of these different things. Tip number 4 to be a good second shooter is to capture behind the scenes footage on both your phone and your camera. I love having footage on my phone of behind the scenes of the wedding day because I like to share them on my Instagram stories, and I've actually had a lot of brides reach out to me and tell me that one of the deciding factors was like my Instagram presence. They found me on Instagram and they loved how I shared those behind the scenes pieces because it made them feel more comfortable in hiring me. It gave them a peek into what their wedding day could look like with me, and even brides that have already hired me, that their wedding is maybe a year out, sometimes they'll message me and they'll say like, just seeing the behind the scenes on your story is getting me so excited for my wedding. So that really has become a really big part of my business, and behind the scenes are so hard to come by if I was by myself, because I'm, again, kind of like the last tip, I'm doing so many things already. The last thing I'm thinking of is picking up my phone to do a little behind the scenes video. So if you are able to just steal my phone at any time of the day and take a little bit of behind the scenes footage if things are, you know, a little bit more slow for you, because there definitely are times in the day when the second shooter isn't kind of given their own job to go off and shoot and you're acting more as an assistant or helper than a shooter. So those are great times to pick up the lead photographer's phone, shoot some behind the scenes footage, and also capture behind the scenes footage on your camera, because we all know how hard it is to come by photos of ourselves as photographers. We're always the one taking the photos, we're not in the photos, and even too when we get headshots, usually it's us smiling with our camera or without our camera, and we don't often get photos of ourselves actually at work. And those are really valuable on your website and just sharing on social media. They always say you should be posting a lot of photos of yourself and not just the things, you know, the things that you shoot. So if I'm able to share professional quality photos of me on the job, like I said earlier, it's gonna help brides trust me more. They're gonna be able to see what a wedding day looks like with me. They're gonna be able to trust me a little bit more seeing me in action, and it's also going to allow me to integrate myself into my feed without always just putting it in a little headshot of me smiling. Those little photos of me in the middle of my work, whether that's setting up a flat lay with details or organizing a bridal party or really any of those little things, are super great to have. So definitely make sure that throughout the day you're capturing little pictures both on your camera and the phone, or videos too on the phone or camera of, you know, different parts of the wedding day so the photographer can use those later on. Tip number 5 to being the best second shooter is to not just be a shooter, but to also be a helper. And I kind of touched on this earlier, but what I mean is that don't just focus on taking pictures the whole day. I overshoot, so I already have like 5,000 images to go through. So if you're just taking photos for the sake of taking photos, then I'm gonna have even more images to cull. But if you take photos wisely and then use that downtime throughout the day, like for example, I have had in the past second shooters bring me my water on a hot day, because I usually will just plop my water down on the ground and then we move around a lot and I have no idea where it is and I lose it. So if you like can bring me my water and just like, you know, think ahead, like she's probably thirsty because it's hot out. Or I've had second shooters, they knew at the end of the ceremony that we were going to be doing a big wide shot of everybody. The couple wanted everybody to turn around in their seats and look up at me, so I needed a little step ladder, so they thought ahead and they were already there with the step ladder. I didn't even have to blink twice, I just climbed up on it and got the shot. So any of those kinds of things that you can think of that are just little moments throughout the day that might be helpful, where you can just be that helper and that assistant and not so much the shooter, is great. I always appreciate that more than just thousands of photos that I, you know, won't end up always keeping because you just needed to fill your time. So if you can fill your time being a helper and not just fill your time shooting random things, then that's always appreciated. Tip number 6 is to make sure that it is okay to share on social media. Some photographers have different rules. They might say that you can share on social media, yeah, whatever, do it whenever you want. Some photographers want you to wait until they deliver the final gallery to the couple so that the first time that the couple is seeing their photos is from them and not from you. Some photographers say wait 6 months or wait a year, something like that. So make sure that you understand what your lead photographer's policies are, and if you are to share on social media, make sure that you credit the lead photographer appropriately and use good etiquette on social when you're being a second shooter. And that includes not tagging the couple in the photos, not tagging the vendors, not going out of your way to send the vendors these images, because the lead shooter would typically do that on their own, and they want to make sure that, you know, the vendors and the couple are just getting their images that they've edited and not your versions of them. So make sure that you're using good etiquette there and that you're crediting the main photographer appropriately. I've seen some second shooters or some photographers who I know second shot something and then later when they share it on social, they don't make any mention of the lead photographer and they make it seem like it was their own wedding that they shot. And to me, and I know a lot of other photographers, it's a little bit skeevy and you likely won't be hired again if you're to do something like that. If I was a lead photographer and my second shooter did that, I probably would not have them come along. No matter how good they did on the wedding day, if they're gonna go and do something like that, which is a little bit inappropriate, I might not have them back, or I would have to warn them and I'd give them a second chance. But that is something that is a little bit sketchy that a lot of photographers would not appreciate. So, you know, being able to, in your captions, say like, captured while second shooting for, and then tag the lead photographer, and make sure that people know that this was not your wedding, but that it was you shooting under contract for another photographer. That will help you stay in good standing with the photographer that you worked with and maintain good etiquette on social media. So definitely, you know, to wrap that up, check with your photographer that you're shooting with, because they all have different policies on when you can share and how you can share, and make sure that you are following what's in the contract and that you are following good social media etiquette so that you're not angering anybody. But those are my 6 tips on how to be an awesome second shooter. If you have any questions about second shooting or about any of the things I said, or you know, you want to just chat with me a little bit more about second shooting, leave them in the comments below. I'm happy to answer your questions. You can shoot me a DM on Instagram. I second shot for years, and like I said, I'm now a lead photographer most of the time, so I know it from both perspectives, and I'd love to share more information with you. So leave a comment, DM me, whatever the heck you want to do. Leave a like if this video was helpful to you, and make sure to subscribe subscribe because I come out with new videos every single Friday and I definitely don't want you to miss them. So hit that subscribe button if you want to be notified when those videos come out each week. Make sure to follow me on Instagram at Allison Clarke Photography because I share tips and tricks there on my stories and on my reels and stuff on the daily. So if you want even more free educational content besides these videos and my free download, you can go and follow me over there and be the first to know about all the fun things that I'm doing. But that is it. Thank you so much for tuning in today, guys. I'm so happy to have you, and I hope you all have a great weekend, and I will see you all next week.